Right, good morning everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to MDRT Made Easy. Some of you know me, I think, but I think most of you have not seen me before. Put your hand up if you've never seen me before. Most of you. I keep thinking I'm more famous. Obviously I need to spend more time here. Hey, I've been here before. I spent 12 weeks with some of your colleagues, or 13 weeks with some of your colleagues, doing a program called RTM. Started in January, just finished 2 weeks ago. I'll tell you more about that later. And because of what I did in RTM, then training department asked me to come back today and do this thing about doing MDRT. So my job this morning is to show you MDRT is easy. And that is it. I believe it's easy. I know it's easy, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. Part of the challenge you have in MDRT is that you believe it's hard. And I wish to change that perception. That's why we're here today. So this show will take about 1.5, 2 hours, etc. We should be done by about 10 o'clock tonight. My problem is not speaking, my problem is stopping. I'm going to tell you some stories, I'm going to share some ideas with you, and I'm going to, hopefully, by the time we finish at lunchtime, you'll have a better idea of my version of MDRT, which is slightly different to your version of MDRT. So, can you hear me okay? Am I speaking too fast, too slow? Is it okay?
Yes.
You want English, Cantonese, Mandarin? Which one do you want? Mandarin? Okay, I'll just go for a while, I'll come back. I've got to read a book first. I'm learning English, so I'll practice that on you guys, if that's okay. So my name is Mark Chatterton. I have been in Asia now for 17 years. I live in KL. My family is Malaysian. My wife is Malay. So she's a Bumiputra. I'm a Bumipute. It's like yin and yang. They go together. And I've been involved in life assurance for 26 years. I'll show you my CV in a short while. I stay in KL. We have 2 children grown up already. My wife is a trainer as well. I'm a trainer and a coach, but I still sell just like you guys. My wife is an NLP trainer, NLP coach, and she's also an author in NLP, and she's the only person, as far as we know, in the world that writes NLP books in Bahasa. And she specializes in working with the government and things like that. So more about her later. So let's talk on. Let's carry on. I'll tell you about my career. Who am I? In a nutshell. I joined Life Assurance 23rd of March 1984. It was a Friday. Small company called Liberty Life Assurance. Small unit-linked company, average 1,000 full-time agents. I did MDRT in my first year. I then went on to do COT and TOT. I became an agency leader. We call them branch managers. I eventually became what's known as offshore IFA, which is what I am now, offshore independent financial advisor. I started traveling about 20 years ago. I moved to a place called Malta, near Italy, and then to Dubai, then came to South Africa, Botswana, arrived in Southeast Asia in 1993. I have about 2,500 personal clients around the world, and my persistency is always has and always will be 100%. I have never lost a client in my life, ever, except when they die. And if they want to die, I've got to get permission first, because it messes up my numbers. I'm still an offshore IFA. I'm still selling. Last year my production was about COT, but these days, because I'm getting a lot older and I'm just too tired to travel, my focus is coaching. And I spend a lot more time with people like you, particularly in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, sometimes China, coaching and giving people ideas. Why I coach? Because it's giving back. That's it. I see too many people struggling in this business. I see too many people stressed out, having a bad time. I don't agree with that. And the coaching is really just to help you guys be less stressed. So, production-wise, 84, MDRT in 9 months. 85, MDRT. 86, COT, TOT, TOT. 89, I did this qualification called SFY. Do you have SFY in AIA?
No.
You got? You got MDRT? You got COT? You got TOT? Convention, all that? You got SFY?
No.
Got la. SFY stands for sleep for year. Now I know lots of you guys are sleeping most of the time. That's one of the reasons I'm here today. They brought the ammo in to start shouting and swearing at you guys. And then COT and TOT. And my production still these days is about COT, TOT. I don't do the figures these days. I don't chase it no more. But it's always around that figure. I'm still selling for a number of reasons. Number one, for me to coach you guys and be a better coach for you and a better trainer, I need to sell. I need to keep doing production because I can't train you on selling 20 years ago. I can't sell you on training, on closing I did 10 years ago. So I still sell for that reason, to be a better coach. And also, number two, I like the money, obviously. As a manager, unit manager, branch manager, eventually became a regional manager. We had this position in the UK called regional manager, which you have a number of branches underneath you. I had 5 agencies under me, about 30 agents per branch. Got tired of that, lost all my hair, too much stress, and I left the UK in 1991 to start travelling around the world. That's all. So that's it, that's me, that's where I come from. So, today, to get the most of this program, not just today, but the whole MDRT programs for the next 6, 7, 8 months, how long it goes for. To get the most out of MDRT for you guys, you've got to do a number of things. Number one, you've got to start being honest with yourself and honest with each other, but particularly self. One of the hardest things for agents to do, or people in general to do, is to be honest with ourselves, to take a look in the mirror and just admit who we are. Because we're always trying to be somebody else, or trying to put our best foot forward. And it's sometimes very hard to show people, or to admit to ourselves, most importantly, exactly who we are. However, the reason I say that, because every day you're going out knocking on doors, meeting people, trying to ask people to buy you. People buy people first. It's not fair if you ask them to buy you if you don't buy you. Does that make sense? It makes you a hypocrite. Once you start being honest with yourself, as painful as it may be, and you get over that first transition, selling is a lot easier because people buy honest people. Not just you telling the truth. I mean being honest with yourself. People know if you're true to yourself. They have feelings. NLP terms, it's called congruence. So being honest with ourselves, although it's painful, and I know it hurts, long term, you will win out in sales, in confidence, self-esteem, etc. Next one, you've got to open your mind. Take off your blinkers and see the bigger picture. I will prove to you today, or I will try to prove to you this morning, how easy MDRT is. But to do that, you've got to open your mind a lot more. Because it's more than you see, and that's what I'm going to try and show you today. And the last one, open your mind, get out the box. Often as we go through our career as agents, as FSCs, we get stuck in this little box, which is okay, but like any box, it has limitations. So one of the tricks to making MDRT easier is to get out of these self-imposed limitations, and sometimes company-imposed limitations, and just be a bit more freer. And then MDRT becomes easier. I'll explain more as we go through this morning. So, let's start. Anybody know what that is? In fact, let me backtrack for a second before I start that slide. I've just thought of something. When I was discussing with your training department about this session today, and about MDRT, what I said to them, and what I noticed, certainly in this part of the world, Southeast Asia, is that MDRT is a big thing. And I know it's part of your culture, it's part of the system here. It's all companies, whether it's AIA in Malaysia, in Singapore, or Prudential in Malaysia, or GE in Jakarta. It's the same thing. The culture here seems to be that MDRT is a big, big thing. And once you reach MDRT, it puts you into some sort of godlike status. Once you get MDRT, you can walk on water. And start changing fish and loaves and things. Which to me is the wrong way around. Because the culture I came from, back in Manchester those days in the 80s, for my company and most of the companies in the UK was that MDRT was a requisite for being normal. That's all. It wasn't a big thing. It was important. Yes, it's nice to do MDRT, but it was seen as the first basic level. If you're MDRT, it means you are okay. You're not good. You're not a superstar. You're just okay. It's like third place, bronze. Now, in the coming World Cup, in a couple of months' time, everybody will remember who won. Nobody will remember who came third, do they? They don't. The Olympics last time, you might remember who was the 100-meter winner, but you remember who came third? Nobody remembers. Third or second. So to us, MDRT was important, but it wasn't a big issue. You got MDRT, okay, cool. You're okay, you're average, you're normal. COT, TOT, then very good. I worked for another company called Allied Dunbar for a short time after Liberty Life, before I became an IFA. Allied Dunbar at that time was probably the Rolls-Royce of all insurance companies back in the 80s. Every agent in Allied Dunbar was MDRT. Everyone. And when you went on a convention with Allied Dunbar, and you were talking to people in the bar, and like everybody, they say, what's your qualification last year? If you said, I did MDRT, nobody would talk to you. Go and stand over there in the corner and talk to the wall. Because you're only MDRT. When you've done COT and TOT, come back and talk to the big boys. But don't waste our time with MDRT. I'm serious about this. That's what it was like. I'm not putting MDRT down. It's a cool thing. What I'm trying to explain to you guys this morning is that part of the challenges you have with MDRT is because it's created challenges by thinking MDRT is a big issue. Yes, it's important, but it's not as big as you make it out to be. Because if you make it big, then you make it hard. And if you make it hard, it's a tough challenge. And that's why a lot of people don't achieve it. So I want to try and change that perception, because it is only a perception. It's in your mind. Change the perception, change how you see MDRT as being important, makes me good, but I'm not a superstar yet. Does that make sense so far? Hello? Anybody there? I've not got my glasses on, I can't see you. Okay, so let's go back to my mountain. Where's this? Anyone know? It's a mountain, yes. But where? Which one?
Everest.
Correct. Mount Everest, 29,029 feet, 5 miles high. The highest land mountain in the world. It's not the highest mountain in the world. The highest mountain in the world is Mount Kilauea in Hawaii, but that starts under the sea. That's 38,000 feet. But on top of the sea, this is the biggest mountain, Everest. 38,000 feet. 29,000 feet. 5 miles. What's this? You should know this. What's this? Bukit Timah Hill. 545 feet. Okay, so far. Everest, 29,000 feet, 5 miles. Bukit Timah Hill, 545 feet, less than 5 miles. So, a couple of questions for you, a couple of challenges this morning. If I was to say to you, go climb Bukit Timah Hill and you get a really cool prize, could you do it? I'm not saying would you do it. Could you climb Bukit Timah Hill for a cool prize? Could you? Yes. Okay. Second question. If I was to say to you, go climb Mount Everest for the same cool prize, could you do it? Not would you do it, could you do it? Maybe not, because it's a bit higher than Bukit Timah Hill. As far as I know, I tried to check on this in the internet. As far as I know, nobody's died climbing Mount Bukit Timah Hill. I don't think so. Except in the war maybe, but not now. Where many people have died on climbing Mount Everest. So what's the difference Bukit Timah Hill, Mount Everest. What's the difference? Which one is easier to climb? Bukit Timah Hill, obviously, because it's only 545 feet. Now I'm using this analogy to make sense of what I think about MDRT, as I was saying before. Most FSCs, most agents in Southeast Asia believe MDRT is Mount Everest. So it becomes very, 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 very almost impossible to do. Because you're taught from being children, when you go kindergarten, MDRT, so big, so high. It's not. MDRT is only Bukit Timah Hill. I promise you. It is that easy. If you can climb Bukit Timah Hill without dying, and without oxygen, and without porters, you can do MDRT. It is that simple, and it's that picture I want to try and leave you with today for our whole morning session. It is not, and it never will be, Everest. However, unfortunately, and through no fault of your own, this is not particularly your fault, because you are all victims of the culture here. Perception is it's Everest, and it's not Everest. It's Bukit Timah. And it is easy as climbing Bukit Timah, as I'll show you later. I'll show you the figures, I'll show you the activity, and we'll prove how easy it is. But that's the first thing to have in your head. We're not talking Everest. TOT is Everest. That's cool, maybe. But MDRT is just Bukit Timah Hill. And anybody, your grandmother can climb Bukit Timah Hill. My goldfish can climb Bukit Timah Hill. It's that simple. Are we cool so far? Mm-hmm. I know you don't believe me. That's why I'm here, to change. So, today I want to show you why MDRT is easy. That's what we're going to do today, nothing else. MDRT is only, and will ever be, MDRT. It's Bukit Timah Hill. However, you've got to believe that in your mind. Your mind is very, very powerful. What you believe is what you get. It's very important to change this picture inside your head first. Okay. Belief. MDRT, 103,000. Is that right? 103,000 FYC this year? Mm-hmm. Okay. A lot of agents, a lot of FSC say, wow, 103,000. So big, lad. How to do, lad? Mount Everest, lad. Cannot even see the top, lad. If I go there, I could die. It's dangerous, so far. Need oxygen. Need an aeroplane. Need Superman. Need God. All these things. Because we believe, and belief is part of the key to MDRT. We believe it's difficult because we believe it's Mount Everest. So what happens? It becomes difficult and it becomes Mount Everest. It's not about activity first. It's not about how many calls you make. It's not about how many closes you do. It's not how many referrals you get. All that is secondary. The biggest and most important step to achieving MDRT is belief that it is easy or belief that it is hard. Belief that it's Everest or belief that it's Bukit Timah. So belief is important. Let's talk about belief. If you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. Henry Ford. That's it. The guy said it 80, 90 years ago. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. It comes from your perception. It comes from the pictures inside your mind. If you're starting MDRT in January this year or December last year and you think MDRT, Mount Everest, bit high, not sure if I can do it. If you're starting MDRT and you know it's only Bukit Timah, easy, I'll have that done by March. Belief is important. Napoleon Hill, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Put your hand up if you've read this book, Think and Grow Rich. You guys this side can't read? They got it in Chinese characters also if you need to, there's no excuse. If you haven't got this book, or you've never heard of this book, write it down in your notes now, because you've got homework today. Write that book down, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Go to Borders, spend, I don't know, $20, and buy one. Think and Grow Rich has nothing to do with MDRT, nothing to do with Mount Everest, and he never talks about Bukit Timah Hill in that book. But it's about belief, believing in yourself. I'm going to show you lots of books that you should be reading or you should have read today, important for your success. If you read the biographies of any famous people in the world, including your own senior mentor, what's he called? No, I know his name. What's his title? Senior mentor, senior minister. Mentor minister, Lee Kuan Yew. That's in his library. You asked him, read it, he's read it a few times. All top people in the world have read this book. It's not about life assurance. It's about growing and becoming successful. Next one, belief. This is from the dictionary. Belief is the psychological state in which an individual holds a proposition or premise to be true. If you do not believe you can do MDRT, you will never ever do MDRT. And if you believe MDRT is Mount Everest, it will be so much harder. It is impossible to achieve anything, in this case MDRT, unless you believe it first. What you do in your head is more important than what you do in a classroom. Always. Top sports people all over the world. Let's take Tiger Woods. They practice in their mind first. Before Tiger Woods plays on the golf course, he plays the 18 holes in his head first, hundreds of times. Michael Schumacher, when he was world champion, before he drove the 72 laps for a Formula One race, he drove it in his head first, over and over and over, and he believed he could win, and he won. You've got to start believing that, number one, you can do MDRT. Number two, you've got to see yourself achieving MDRT. And number three, the big one, you've got to believe that MDRT is only Bukit Timah Hill. It is not, and never will be, Mount Everest. MDRT is about perceptions. Your perception, especially your perception. So, big question, and please be honest with this. Do you have doubts? Do you have doubts? Yes. Sometimes? All the time? Sometimes? Every day? Some days? You wake up in the morning and thinking, what the f am I doing? Do you think that sometimes? Why am I doing this stupid job? Nobody hates me, no one likes me, everybody hates me. I get rejection all day, people throw stones at me. When I come near children, they start to cry. One of the cool things about life assurance, all over the world, is everybody you meet hates you. Everybody. It's not just Singapore prospects that dislike you. South African prospects dislike you. And in South Africa, they carry guns. And it's legal to shoot agents in Africa. It's okay. They can't shoot lions no more, that's illegal. Shooting agents is the replacement for lions and elephants. When they go on safari, they don't hunt big game, they hunt FSC. So everybody has doubts, including myself. And it's okay to have doubts. However, you've got to fix that. You've got to start doing things to remove these doubts. Because if you're going to see a client and you've got doubts in their mind, in your mind, sorry, or you're going to see a client and you're sat there with the client and you're thinking to yourself, I hope he signs, I hope she signs, I hope she gives me a check, I hope they give me some referrals. They will pick up those doubts because our unconscious minds talk to each other. And that's when you get the question, yeah, it's great, I love this, please leave it with us and we'll give you a call tomorrow. Do they call tomorrow? No, they don't call. I'm waiting for a call from 24th of March 1984. Maybe they lost my phone number. They don't call because we create our own rejections, our own problems and rejection because we have doubts. Now I know doubt is more normal, and it's okay. But it's also not okay. You've got to start doing things to remove these doubts, which comes from confidence and comes from belief. Because people buy your belief. They buy the fact that you believe in yourself, that you believe in the business, and you believe that MDRT is only Bukit Timah. Because people pick up your doubts. So you've got to start doing things to remove doubts. How do you remove doubts? One of them is read books like Think and Grow Rich. Because inside those books there are tools to give you to help remove doubts. I'm going to give you a list of more books later. But you've got to change this. When you're seeing clients, the only picture inside your mind here should be what? What picture could you have in that mental picture? What picture could you have in that bubble? Instead of doubts with your client, what picture could you have? Why not picture the guy shaking your hand and saying, thank you, I love this insurance policy? Why not picture in your mind being on stage at the end of the year collecting your MDRT certificate? Why not picture in your mind the guy saying, this is fantastic, I'm going to introduce you to all my friends because I think you're a great agent? Those are the pictures you've got to have in your mind, which is all part of your belief. There's an old expression in Hollywood, fake it till you make it. Sometimes bullshit is okay, as long as it's professional bullshit. If you don't believe, straight away, pretend you believe first. This is NLP tools. Fake it till you make it, the belief will come later. Next one. So very important, how do you see yourself? You've got to start believing more in yourself. You've got to start feeling good about yourself. You've got to imagine this person in the mirror is a person already achieved MDRT inside your mind. Start changing these pictures in your mind from Mount Everest to Bukit Timah, from doubt to belief. Instead of I hope, why not I can? Bumblebee. Do you have bumblebees in Singapore? Do you? I don't know. Do you have bumblebees? Do you have a bee? Do you have them here? In the 1950s, there was some aeronautical engineers having a beer, and they were talking about bumblebees. And these aeronautical engineers decided to pick on the bumblebee in Germany. I don't know why German bumblebees, they did. They pick it on German bumblebees. And decided that bumblebees can't fly, because it is aeronautically impossible for a bumblebee to fly because of the size of their body, and they've only got small wings. So you now, in Germany in the 1950s, you had a load of depressed bumblebees who had to walk everywhere. Because they told the bumblebee, you can't fly, changed their belief system, now it's depressed and has to walk. Now fortunately, that's not particularly true at the end of the story. But if you told the bumblebee it can't fly, it changed its belief system, it wouldn't fly.